In this video, I will go over how to create a complex plane shape in SolidWorks using images that you can just get off Google Chrome by doing an image search. So here I have downloaded the Boeing X-32 orthographic images. If you want this image, you can search Boeing X-32 orthographic and look for one that has these three ones here. And so after doing that, you can just take the file and copy it 3 times. And name them front view, side view, and top view. And so now I'm going to open front view with Paint, Microsoft Paint. And the front view is down here at the bottom. And so I'm just going to try and select around it and then crop out all of the excess bits of the plane. And so trying to work it out so that I get just barely all the points of the plane and try to factor out everything else and then crop. Yeah, it's really easy to crop the bottom. You can just pull that up and then save that. And then go to side view, open with Paint. And that's this one here. So, one that's wider first, crop, and then yeah, it's fine if the black lines slightly get cut off. You want it a very close fit. And then edit the top view. And then save that, and then you can just, if you change both these colors to white, select this polygon here, and then solid fill, you can clear out the shapes in the corner just by doing that. And that'll keep them from being distracting in the next step. So then you can open all 3 with Paint. Again. And so we want to check the sizings, which you can see down here, which give the total length and height of the image. So from front to back, the pixel length here is 1,349. And so we want to make sure that's the same here, which it is. And it's not relevant in this one. And the wingspan is 1125 pixels. And so we want to make sure that this one is also 1125 long. And so keeping it scaled, since we haven't verified any other pixels, we change that. We can also see here that the design is 343 pixels tall, and so we go over here and we want to edit that. It's already basically there since they're mostly scaled right. And you may have to turn off scaling here if it's slightly off, and then just and save. I'm gonna open that one back actually. Oh wait, no, top view. And so we can go to SolidWorks, We're going to change our units to millimeters, just so that if you ever want to 3D print your plane shape, it's much simpler to scale it downwards. So you start with the smallest unit, because the numbers get fairly high. We're going to save that. And so we're going to sketch a rectangle, starting with the origin as the top left. Make sure that's 9 degrees. Since this image is 1125 pixels tall, we will make that the dimension for this line. And it is 1349 long, so we will make that the length of this rectangle. And then close the rectangle. Exit sketch. And we will then extrude it to be as tall as the front view, which is 343 pixels. And so with the origin here, we want to mark this plane out as special, just because it will make the steps easier. We go to here, face 1, and we can change that color to this red color. Save that. We'll remove that later. And so on the top plane here, we can then create a sketch. Note the origins in the top left. Just like the way the Microsoft Paint scaling works here, you can see the coordinates change. Here I'm at 0, 0 approximately, and then at the bottom right it's at the maximum. So this point in the plane is at 439, 409. So we're going to create a point and extrude. Yeah. 443 in the X, 409 tall. And we're also going to put a point here at the center of that line. And here we can see on the edge it is at an X value of about 993. And this one back here is at 1093. So we're going to create points for both of those. Next point is here at 1057.93. Then traces back here to 1159.353. And then we'll head up to 1211.317. and then move back to the same Y and touch the corner of the box. So we can work that is right here. And just to make sure, I'm going to add a horizontal relationship there. Save that. It then moves to the location 1306, 453. Then 1340, 464. And I'm just going to go straight here to 1331, 508. Then it moves into an X of about 1160. Forwards, or well, moves down to 516 in the Y direction. Moves to an X of 1218. And then for the last piece, we will go right to the center, make sure it aligns with the previously made one. And its X value is 1242. And now we will just connect everything with simple lines. Or actually, for the first line, we're going to use part of a parabola. Or not a parabola, an ellipse. And so locate it between the center of these two and formulate it as such. I'm going to use a connecting line here to make these trim any of these step easier. Make sure you select trim to closest, do that, and then remove that. You can also keep it as a straight line if you want to, but I won't. And now I will highlight all the sketch I've created. Actually, first I'll create a line to reflect it over. Highlight all of it, go to Tools, Sketch Tools, Mirror, mirror about, deselect this line, and then mirror about here. and you can see it reflects over. Select that, delete this line, exit sketch, keep this select. Actually, one more step to editing it. Create a large rectangular box around all of it, then exit sketch. Select this, go to extruded cut. Make sure you have this outer section selected. You can align 343 again, or make it an infinite cut. And so now we have the sort of top plane shape, which still good decoration, but we can go further. But we're done with the top view for now. Going to go to the side view next. Oh, make sure to open it in Paint again. And now we want to create a sketch on the front plane, and as you can see, the origin is in the bottom left here, and so we will want to take that into account and maneuver our body so that the front of the plane is on the left and the origin is at the top. And so if we go to the image here and flip vertically so that it is like this, we have that and can move on to this step. So the nose starts at a Y value of 150. I'm going to change that to 157. This next point here is at 125, 111. Going to cut a straight line here to 8864. And then cut another straight line here to 269.10. And then I'm going to create an ellipsis shape till we reach an X value of 577. So go to ellipse, go to the midpoint, and then create it as such. Then go to trim entities and trim the bottom and this line here. And I'm going to create another ellipse shape to get to 1176.76. And cut a straight line to 1134.142. Oops, that should be 142. This should be 1334. Going back to 1299.156. And then to the bottom right corner. And then staying on the bottom line, an X value of 1216. Then to 1056.186. And then I'm going to create another ellipse shape to 646.29. And creating an ellipse from there would be like that. I'm just going to create a straight line between two for now so I can trim it. Remove the straight line, check mark. Create a straight line to 305.287. And then I will form some sort of rounding curve to 121.215. I'll figure that one out later. And that's close enough to a straight line back, so connect the lines. And now the curve in the center. I'm going to try using a spline curve that approximates this path. So then escape. That's good enough. Save. Exit sketch. Create a large rectangle around it. Exit sketch. Select sketch, extruded cut. Through all both. And now we will edit the top view. Or, sorry, the front view. Which starts at the right plane. Let's go to sketch. And then for this sketch, we're going to create an alternate point for using as the reference basis. And we want to make sure it is in line with these ones. Or horizontal at this point. Good. And then fix it in place so it can't move. And this is effectively the origin, which we will base off the new points from. So the wings start at a Y value of 236. They then go to point 114, 213. And then make an arc across to 133. Or 399, 133. Point goes up to 319 in the X. And extends about over to 325. I'm going to make that slightly longer just for easier reference. Actually, I'll keep it at 325 so we can be consistent for now. And then heads down to 130, 429, 130. Over to 512, 123. And then curves up in a parabola shape to 562.54. We're going to ignore the X, choose the center of the line here, and the Y value was 54. Need to break that coincident, move it beneath start over on that line. Choose the center point, move down, and then 54 from the top. And then proceed to connect the lines. Alright, actually, first... Sorry. Skipped a step. Now we're going to start placing this side. So this wing goes to 417, 206. Moves in a straight line down to 503, 330. And then moves in a parabola shape down to this point here. Or sorry, again, an ellipse. And now we're going to close the shape. Extend this line in the center down to the bottom. Continue the bottom shapes here. And just like with the first one, we're going to highlight all these, deselect the middle line, go to Tools, Sketch Tools, Mirror, and mirror about the center line. Check mark. Delete the center line, exit sketch. Create a large box around the shape. Exit sketch, select the sketch. Extruded cut. Reverse direction through all. And now we have an approximate plane shape. As we can see here, the method we used left a bit of the space here since it was accounting for the vertical, although in this case slanted stabilizers in the back. And so we're going to create another sketch to get rid of those. So we use straight lines to connect all these pieces, so we can just do that with this. And then on the same side here. Vertical stabilizers are rather difficult to work with. If you want, you can also do your front sketch and previous steps, all ignoring the vertical stabilizers, sort of passing over them, and then add them in later. So I have the sketch there, going to go to extruded cut, reverse the direction, set to blind, and then move it back far enough to get rid of the unwanted material. And then on the back here, we can also see how the fuselage shape is still a bit too intact, because it was the space where the pilot would go, left this space right here intact. And we want to clear that out. So for that, I'm going to create a reference plane and offset it so that it is behind the entire plane. It's going to be about 1400 or so millimeters. Create a sketch. Extruded cut, back slightly, and yeah, it was slightly too thin. I was concerned about that, so I'll just expand it. And now it's fixed. And now we can look up the Boeing X-32 and compare our final results. And so clearly we want to thin down the wings slightly. We can see there's not overall much structure underneath the wings, so that carries on into the next step, which is replacing the wings with a design that is akin to an actual airfoil. Oh, I see what I did wrong. I did not connect those sketch lines properly. Yeah, I completely skipped some lines. And now we can see our plane shape is very similar to the Boeing X-32 shape, but nevertheless we're going to essentially cut off the wings and also the vertical stabilizers and replace them with airfoil shapes. The basic process to airfoil shapes was covered in the previous basic plane and an XFLR video, basic plane and SolidWorks video. Depiction of the airfoil shape with flaps right at the end there. No airfoil shape is going to perfectly map onto any of the information we can get from the internet, but we can do our best to approximate. For example, for the F-22 design I did, I used a NACA 006. These wings are slightly thicker, so I think I'm going to go with a NACA 008. So we can search that. Or, sorry, 0008. I'll select the first one, CLEAG format DAT file, copy all these numbers, go here, go to new Microsoft Excel documents, name it NACA 0008. Paste, then go to data, text to columns, next, space, next, finish, and then add in zeros for all of these. We want to undergo that step in a second. Currently in row column C are all the X values. Move those to the A1 column, save, and then file, save as. Change it to a text tab delimited file, and save. In order to delete the wings, we're going to create a front plane sketch. And create a shape that approximates our current wings. It can go slightly beyond their space. In order to fully enclose them. That line should not be there. Exit sketch. And in reference to this, the front plane, we will also create another plane that is both parallel to this, and as a second reference, it should be coincident with this point here, just like it is on the other side. And then copy sketch 9 to sketch 10, and then edit the sketch plane to plane 2. And as you can see, it's flipped onto here. Then from sketch 9, we're going to do an extruded cut. Swap direction. And do it 400 millimeters in this case. We're just trying to get to the center sort of fuselage size. And repeating that on sketch 10. And now we have just the fuselage shape and our sort of backwards tail, which has partially been deleted, but we're not going to worry about that much. And now we have these flat planes to work with to place our sketches onto. I'm going to hide plane 2. Then go to curves, curve through XYZ points, browse. Select text files, and then use your NACA. After you've created your tab delimited file, you want to make sure all your numbers are properly aligned with each other in your text document. So you may have to tab some of the zeros for the Z to make them all line up. Save that. And if you go to the origin, you will be able to see the airfoil shape. On our design, the airfoils are roughly 700 pixels long, and as it currently stands, it will be approximately 1 millimeter. So I'll create a sketch on the front plane, zoom into the origin, go to convert entities. It might help if you set your units back to meters right before you open the text document to create your curve. You can then close. While still editing the sketch, you want to highlight it all, go to Tools, Sketch Tools, Scale, and for now I'm just going to do a approximation, just so we get a larger one to work with. And so now its length is 1,000, approximately. But we want it to be the length from this line to this line, which in the normal distance it gives is 0.7 meters. So we will want to shrink this down by a factor of 0.7. I'm going to go slightly longer because of the addition at the end. Edit sketch. Scale. And scale about the origin. Factor of 0.68. Tools, Sketch Tools, Move, and highlight, select all entities, and start from the origin to this line here. And now we want to copy that. I'm going to copy it twice just for safekeeping, and edit the sketch planes from the front plane to this plane, face 1, and for 13 I will change the sketch plane to this one here. And now we can hide sketch 11, and both 12 and 13 exist as the basic wing line shapes. But the wings are much smaller at the tips of the aircraft wings, so we will need to create new sizes for those ones. If we go to the top view, we can see that they start at an X value of 992 and end at one of 1092, meaning they are 100 pixels or 100 millimeters in length at the tips. And we're just going to, for now, ignore this more complex shape that angles them inwards and then outwards again. However, I can cover that in another plane design. This can be especially important distinction considering the flaps clearly only exist on these sections here. So back to SolidWorks, we can see sketch 11, and we want to create 2 more edits of that, but I'm going to reshow plane 2, because this will be where the tips end on the left side. 14 and 15. Actually, sorry. Before that, we want to scale down sketch 11. highlight all of that, tools, sketch tools, scale, and then 0.99, and scale about sorry, that's right. 0.099 is the scale wanted. I'm going to change it to 0.13 to slightly fix it. And then I'm going to move that backwards. To here. Exit sketch. (16, 17) now, and change their sketch planes. Actually, the front plane is already the right sketch for that one, and so we can hide sketch 11. And now we go to features, draft, no, sorry, not draft, features, lofted base, and then select two profiles corresponding to the same wings. And now we have a wing airfoil shape. And repeat it on the other side. Lofted base, profiles, sketch 13 and sketch 16. Excellent. And now for the vertical stabilizers. Gonna create a sketch on plane 1, set it to a wireframe. And I want to just wipe out the entire back edge here, so I have something flat to work with. And I'll finish the vertical stabilizers in another step. For now, I'll add a texture to the plane so you can see what it looks like. I'll also add the horizontal stabilizers as their own airfoil shape.